When it comes to the Gorosei, they have surpassed my expectations after Egghead Island, from Venus Juro's insane swordsmanship and his, of course, very great sword he has as well. And of course, he also has a mythical horseman-like power that is just badass as hell. To, of course, Saturn, who introduced us all to literal the monsters that like we've seen. Like, he's the one who brought all the Gorosei here on Egghead Island. And like, think about this: Kizaru and Admiral couldn't hang with Gear 5th Luffy as long as Saturn did. Like, that just shows you how epic Saturn was. Of course, he's immortal and he doesn't really take, he can always regenerate, but still. And then of course we have Mercury, whose haki had Luffy shook. And we needed the Iron Giant, Joy Boy's ally from the Void Century, to damage him. And then of course we have the blonde Gorosei sucking air like a vortex, no Diddy. But these are all Gorosei members I was looking forward to. I must admit, I have biases. But there's one Gorosei I didn't care about, and that was Mars. And he actually beat my expectations, because this could be a bad sign for Mars, though, because it has to do with Imu. So let me actually explain in this video. Now, Mars is a character that throughout the story doesn't really get hyped up as much compared to the other Gorosei. Even the lines he has, like in the first ever line we see him have, he says Shanks could do a lot of damage, but I don't think his goal is world conquest. A very simple line. Now, you could look deep into that, talking about how does he know about Shanks's goals? Does he know about is he closely connected to Figure Garling and the Holy Knights and whatnot? But yeah, that's deeping it. If I was you, I'll jump to that conclusion. Then of course the next time we see Mars, of course Mars is actually in front. Of course, this is the flashback during Water 7, and he's actually in front of the Gorosei, which is pretty cool. And he has that ... caption as he hears about the ancient weapon talks. Now we know the ancient weapons literally affect the environment, and that's what Mars is all about. After hearing out Spondum, he even put Spondum in charge. So looks like he definitely has a big part when it comes to the ancient weapons, and I wonder what more information will be received from when it comes to Mars and the ancient weapons and what connections he has there. I thought it was pretty cool though when we saw that major page after the Marineford War. Of course, he was focused on Luffy and Rayleigh's relationship, which was kind of unique. You could see like not a lot of people are focused on that. We saw Buggy focus on that as well, so it was cool to see Mars mention that. Obviously, Rayleigh is the vice captain to the Pirate King, who literally seen the One Piece treasure. Like, Rayleigh is a monumental character in the One Piece story, and Mars is definitely highlighting Luffy and Rayleigh's relationship. And Mars's aura is insane here. Like, the rare times where he's sitting down is one of these moments, and he actually has crazy aura, and he speaks on Blackbeard knowing all of Whitebeard's territory. And this is when I started to get the hang of Mars as a character. It looks like he's very, how to say this, up to date with current events. Like, that's his thing when it comes to the Gorosei. He's not really that deep of a character, but he definitely is always managing what's going down in the One Piece world. You see it again after, of course, when Akainu was going off on the Gorosei. We see when the news gets, of course, leaked that Luffy took down Doflamingo, he says once again. So definitely want to say he's very, very into the current topics of the world. The next time we see him is during the Reverie, and he literally tells Shanks, this is only arranged on your request. Pretty much saying that because who you are, this is the only reason why we actually did this meeting, because they're very busy. So definitely Mars and the Shanks connection, definitely, you could deep it. Like I said, there is moments in the story where you can actually tie things together, but right now I think it's too early, and I think you could also look at it as just Mars just saying, stating the obvious. Like I said, he's very up to date with current events, so we know Shanks' status, of course, and then he's saying, yeah, that's the reason why we did it. Yonko, but also ties to Celestial Dragons. And of course, later on the Reverie, he directly says that Alabasta Kingdom are traitors. That's what I'm saying. He doesn't really sugarcoat nothing. He just keeps it real. Because I've always thought that the Gorosei and Celestial Dragons viewed the Alabasta Kingdom as traitors, but no one really said it until Mars directly says it. And of course, later on we find out how, of course, Lily, ED member, is a traitor. And I like it how Mars is the one who starts to question to Imu on, and he says deciding on another light to be destroyed. Now, the reason why I think this is cool is because it shows you how subservient Mars is to Imu. And I think this is definitely going to be a very good talking point when it comes to bringing Imu and Mars together, and what I'm trying to get down in this One Piece video. During, of course, Luffy going Gear 5th, a very prominent moment in the One Piece story, Mars says, it says, only as if the Delphoot Nika is avoiding us. A hint of them pretty much trying to obtain it since the Void Century. So Mars, a guy who's very up to date with current events in the past, definitely kind of leaked that here and during this moment of Luffy going Gear 5th. Then, of course, we will actually see during the Egghead Island arc, Mars says the world is as the creator wills it. And some people might be saying he's glazing Imu, but I look at it as more so showing how subservient Mars is to Imu. Even compared to Mercury, Mercury actually questions Imu here, but Mars is just following Imu regardless. So I think that definitely is also a sign of something that's going to go down with Mars and Imu. Mars even tries to do some rationalizing after Imu says he wants to destroy the Lucia Kingdom by saying there is signs of rebellion in Lucia Kingdom. Of course, this is around the same time that it's revealed that he is, of course, the top dog of environment, which I told you that's his ballpark in the ancient weapons. It has to do with environment. If you even look at it when it comes to Vegapunk and the whole like world being sinking and everything, Mars definitely has a lot to, of course, be analyzing. And of course, during Egghead Island, we actually see Mars in his mythical form. I won't say Delphoot yet because we don't know if it's a Delphoot or not, but it's called the Itsumade. Of course, I did a little research and it said that it was crying until when. So maybe that's a hint of maybe Oda integrating Mars later on in the story as a big part, because he's the first Gorosei that's actually been taken out of the Egghead Island. Like, he's not there anymore, so I thought that was very cool. And with the first time we see Mars actually going crazy, he's slamming himself into the dome with Conqueror's Haki coding. Like, the hype is real when it comes to the Gorosei, but Mars definitely really spearheaded that hype, and you can see Jinbei noticing. We even get confirmation from Jinbei, one of the top dogs of the Yonko crew and Luffy's crew, Stray Pirates, and Jinbei pretty much said is just in complete shock and awe of Mars's haki, saying it's unreal. This is the same Jinbei that was commenting on Shanks' haki, so definitely want to say this definitely brought chills to me and goosebumps the fact that Jinbei said this. And then of course we see Mars when of course being confronted by Lucci's request to of course spare Kaku, a wild request at that, because of course we all know that of course he was very, very proud of Lucci for bringing out all the information and the things he did on Egghead Island. Even Kizaru was. He says to him, "It is hard to single out an insect when you're taking out the hive." A very goated reply from Mars. Then of course we see a little bit of his observation haki also being flexed, and I definitely gotta say that was pretty cool as he sensed the snail, the transponder snail. It was pretty cool seeing Mars flex any sort of haki. He even says fortune did not favor you this time around to Vegapunk. And of course, just shows you that Mars is not playing around. Like I said, this guy really wants to get the job done. And he was one of the top Goroseis when it comes to trying to get the job done quickly. We later on even see Mars even questioning death when seeing Vegapunk's huge brain. It's ironic since, of course, we know the Gorosei can't really die. Like, he literally got hit with one of the craziest combo, and we know that Mars is still alive. Mars even wants to destroy the power station to stop Vegapunk from exposing the Gorosei and Imu, and of course the truth of the Void Century, in which Saturn and Mercury tell him, hell no, we got too much to lose if we do that. So this definitely made me think that Saturn and Mercury are a little bit higher when it comes to, of course, their status in the Gorosei. Mercury's always been looking like as a top dog, and Saturn as well. I've always thought Mercury, Saturn, and of course Venus were the top dogs. And this is the second Gorosei to get checked in a sense. The last one we saw was, of course, was Jupiter, who got checked for, of course, like pretty much he said it was luck, and then of course Mercury says no, it's faith when it comes to, of course, Sabo being on the Lucia Kingdom. So definitely want to say Mars definitely, I looked at him a little bit differently after this moment. Also got to say this, Mars noticing the Iron Giant from 200 years ago just kind of was another reason why I'm saying Mars being so up to date with current events in the past. He's kind of confirming their immortal theory that we've all been talking about in the One Piece story. And I thought it was pretty cool when Mars shot out a flame breath out of nowhere. And the giant shot shielded, of course, but still they were affected by it, showing that Mars kind of reminds me of Kaido in a sense. Imagine Kaido in his crazy mythical zone form versus Mars in his mythical zone Itsumade form, with Mars having the crazy level haki that he has, comparable to maybe to even Kaido, what we've seen so far. And Mars being immortal, and of course strongest creature alive Kaido being, of course, so durable. That would be a sight to be seen. Then of course we see Mars took a Gear 5th Sanji Bonnie Frankie combined attack. That's Gear 5th Luffy, a Yonko, with of course a top Yonko commander in Sanji, who, let's be honest, Sanji is incredibly powerful because he's a top Yonko commander with no Duffer ability. Then we have a Worst Generation member in Bonnie who's using Gear 5th like powers. And then you have, of course, Frankie, a Yonko commander, all combining their attack. And Frankie is one of the strong. I think Frankie is shown to be the strongest mid commander, like the mid commander, not the low level commander, mid level commanders. After taking down, of course, Sasaki, who was one of the top flying 6 members. And they all combined their attack, and holy shit, he's not dead, but what the fuck? That was a crazy attack that was shown. Like, he got sent out of here, yo. Home run. Now, when it comes to the reason why I'm mentioning all these things about Mars, some people think he's not a really big character. I think maybe Oda is planning something with Mars. Let me land here, guys. I think he did this on purpose. Getting Mars off of Egghead Island first might be for an epic scene of Mars landing somewhere. And, of course, Imu, knowing that Mars got dealt with, goes to Mars, of course, and does his first action. Might be even disciplining a Gorosei, someone at that power level. Seeing Imu maybe even take out a Gorosei member in Mars would be crazy. And the only thing that is, like, the only reason I say this is because he's not on Egghead Island. And Mars, of course, Oda highlighted Mars's power so early on. He is kind of the perfect jobber, in my humble opinion, yo. Because he's not really a prominent character, but someone so strong to be sacrificed like that, I think Mars definitely fits the bill, and it would be kind of cool to see. So yeah, I definitely want Imu to come out of nowhere and just discipline Mars, maybe even kill them, showing that the Gorosei could be killed and not immortal only by Imu, making Imu look even more hyped as a final villain.